This is the Cool Meanderings with Dr. Germ G podcast. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to Cool Meanderings with Dr. Germ G. I'm your host, Dr. Germ G, coming back with you for one final episode before we bring in the new year. I call this my meandering episode. I got a couple of things on my mind that I just want to riff through before we close it out. So I saw the first half of tonight's game between the Washington Commanders and the Atlanta Falcons, and I tell you, man, this was a great battle. It's been a great battle between two rookie quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels for the Commanders, Michael Penix for the Atlanta Falcons. And listen, both QBs are stars, all right? They're both stars. But I think Penix is special. It's just something about his intangibles. I remember when he played for Indiana, when he transferred over to the University of Washington. He was in that system. It made sense. It was such a great fit. And he took that team all the way to the national championship game last year. But he just has that intangible quality, and obviously a great arm, great vision. And you can see that tonight. He just needs time to get into that system. But I'm calling it right now. I like the Falcons next year. I think the Atlanta Falcons are contenders for the 2025-26 season because of Michael Penix. He's the real deal. Jaden Daniels is also going to be a great player. I just think Penix is on a whole other level. I've only seen like just one half of him playing. He's that special. He's on that level. All right. But these are two teams that are vying to get into this year's playoffs, which are really wide open. There's lots of competition. Lots of teams that I think can make some noise in the playoffs. I got about 6 or 7 teams that I really like. I think the Eagles have a shot to win the whole thing. I think Kansas City does. I think the Baltimore Ravens have a shot. I think the Bills definitely have a shot. Of course, you have the Lions and the Vikings. Between those two teams right now, they've won 27 games. The Vikings are 14-2. The Lions are 13-2. They're playing by San Francisco 49ers tomorrow night. Unfortunately, I think they're going to end up being 14-2 when they meet the Vikings next week to decide not only the NFC North, but the number 1 seed in the NFC. Yeah, it's just that kind of year for both the Vikings and the Lions. But then you throw in the Packers and that division, the NFC North, man. So you got 3 bona fide playoff teams. You got 3 playoff teams right there. The Vikings, the Lions, and the Packers. And don't sleep on the Packers. I think the Packers are capable of beating anybody in the NFC. You know, another team that I wouldn't sleep on in the NFC, that's the Rams. I think the LA Rams are the dark horse. I think they are quietly just building up their talent. They're quietly getting themselves in position. They might surprise. I think, if they win they're going to win the NFC West, I think. And depending on how things shake up, they could end up the number 3 seed. And if that's the case, that means that they end up probably getting either the Packers or whoever finishes 7th. If they get the Packers, I mean, that's anybody's game. Rams, Packers, that'd be a great playoff game. And, the winner of that matchup then gets the Philadelphia Eagles, another great matchup. I really like the Eagles. I think the Eagles they've got quite a team. I mean, I'm so happy for Saquon Barkley, who overcame so many obstacles, being drafted by the Giants, who stink, but also overcoming the recent history of Penn State running backs. Looking back at running backs like Kajana Carter, Curtis Enis, who were drafted in the 90s with high expectations, and even Larry Johnson, that was drafted in the early 2000s. I think he had a couple of good seasons, but his career seemed to have been cut short by injuries. I mean, I think we are at year 8 for Saquon, and in his 8th year, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is his 7th or 8th year. He became the 9th running back to rush over 2,000 yards. And that's, which is a fantastic accomplishment. Now, granted, he did it in 16 weeks, which has been the norm for the last, 30 years, maybe 30, 35 years of NFL football. But now we have a 17th game. So he could very well break Eric Dickerson's record of 2,105 yards that was set during the 1984 season. I'm not sure that he will, though, because it just doesn't make sense for the Eagles to play him in the last game of the season. They're playing the Giants, who have nothing to play for. The Giants season is over. Although they did a good job today against the Indianapolis Colts, beating back the Colts 45-33, which was awesome. I had Malik Neighbors on my fantasy football team, so I'm happy about that. Neighbors went off. But there's really nothing for the Eagles to play for. They have the number 2 seed. They're locked in. I mean, why risk it? If anything, I'd say you just get ready to play the number 7 seed a week later. But I'm not the coach. I'm just a fan. But it's just my thought. But anyway, lots of really good teams set up to make this year's NFL playoffs super exciting, super competitive. I'm definitely happy for Russell Wilson, Coach Mike Tomlin, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They made another winning season, back in the playoffs. Great job, both guys. I think Pittsburgh is a middling squad, though. I think that defense, I think they got exposed the last couple of weeks against the Eagles. They played the Eagles, the Ravens, and then the Kansas City Chiefs. 3 weeks in a row. And obviously they lost all 3. Didn't look good. And I felt like the defense looked pretty weak in all 3 games. The offense was, so-so. I think the Steelers' defense is a problem. However, if things hold, if they can beat Cincinnati, because they've already clinched a playoff spot, but if they can beat Cincinnati and go 11-6, they'll have the tiebreaker over the LA Chargers because they beat the LA Chargers early in the season. That means they'll get the number 5 seed and play the Houston Texans, who are also sort of a middling kind of a team and not really going into the playoffs on a strong note. They've also lost some games recently, and I think their quarterback, CJ Stroud, looks like he's lost some of his confidence. So I think the Steelers can get a win there. And if they do, chances are they probably will end up going to Kansas City. And look, you go out in the second round to Kansas City, you're Mike Tomlin, you're Russell Wilson, looking at your team. As long as it's not ugly, I mean, if you at least make it competitive, that's a good season. They're not going to the Super Bowl, but at least I would say at this point, if I'm Tomlin, if I'm Russell Wilson, let's finish the season strong at home, beat Cincinnati, who's coming off of a high. They beat the Bengals yesterday in a thrilling overtime game. They still have their hopes. They're 8-8, beat down the Bengals, then go to Houston, take care of business, and then see what happens in probably Kansas City. I mean, unless there are upsets. Because, let's see, the Ravens will play the Chargers. I don't think the Ravens are going to lose to the LA Chargers, who will likely be the 6th seed. And then whoever ends up at 7 has to go to Buffalo. And, well, yeah. Anyway, so we're probably looking at an AFC. We're probably looking at a second round of a divisional round of Baltimore and Buffalo, a rematch from the regular season game that was played in Baltimore, but this time it'll be in Buffalo, and then Kansas City against either Houston or Pittsburgh, and I think it would be Pittsburgh, which would be 2 good divisional round games. I like it. I think and on the NFC side, all bets are off, which is awesome. I mean, to me this year, the NFL, the playoff picture, the last few weeks are super exciting, which is a far cry from what the college football playoff situation is and the bowl game season. I mean, look, for me personally, the bowl games were fun to watch when I was on my phone. I went out with my wife. We went to IKEA. We went to a few other places, and I'm not really into shopping, so I found a seat, opened my phone, watched a few bowl games. Didn't have any kind of attachment to those games, but it was just fun to watch something. That was cool. But otherwise, I couldn't keep up with the bowls that much. I'm thankful to YouTube. I can watch the 15, 20-minute highlights. Thank you, ESPN. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, ESPN College Football. I can watch highlights of games that I miss, and I've missed quite a few because, well, they haven't been that interesting quarter to quarter, but I do like the highlights. And that would include the first round of the college football playoff. Those 4 games, well, what can I say? What can you say? Look, the cream rises to the top. That's what happened in those first round games. The cream just rose to the top, and it did it quickly. I mean, boom, boom, boom. I mean, those games are over. All 4 were over. I mean, I think, well, with exception of the Clemson-Texas game. I think Texas allowed Clemson to get back in the game in the third quarter, but that was pretty much over. I don't think I can't say that any of those games were competitive in the first round of the playoffs. So let's see what happens. This week coming up, December 31st, January 1st, we've got round 2. And I think we're getting a mixed bag. I think we're going to have 2 classics and 2 cream risers or snooze fest, whatever you want to call it. So I think the Ohio State Buckeyes and Oregon Ducks are definitely going to have a classic rematch in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. And after that game, you got another classic coming up January 1st that evening in the Sugar Bowl with the Georgia Bulldogs and Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I think those 2 games will be classic playoff games. And then you're going to have 2 snooze fest, with Penn State versus Boise State, Texas versus Arizona State. I mean, hey, no disrespect to Boise State. They won their conference. They only lost 1 game, and that was a close game to Oregon, who's undefeated. So, hey, Boise State definitely belongs. Arizona State, look, they won the Big 12. What are you going to do? I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. I can't see... Listen, those games are going to be snooze fest. They'll be over by halftime. Now, I'm hoping for Oregon to beat Ohio State, but I have a feeling the Buckeyes will pull it out. And I think Notre Dame is going to sneak past the Georgia Bulldogs. Because, they're without their quarterback Carson Beck. So I just don't... I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Notre Dame defense... I think they'll hold them in the fourth quarter. And so for the semifinals, I like Texas versus Ohio State, Penn State versus Notre Dame. So 2 classic semifinal games. And in the end, I think the Longhorns of Texas and the Fighting Irish will survive those semifinal games and meet up in the final that we need. I think by the time we get done with the semifinals and we look at our CFP final game, I think as fans, we'll be somewhat satisfied. At the very least, we're going to get a good, after all these extra games and all the extra attention, we're going to get a decent second round, a really good semifinal round, and then I think a championship game that will be the ultimate. I mean, because look, you can't go wrong. UT Austin, Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, however you match up, whichever combination you get out of those 4, or if it's Oregon and Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, basically you're going to have a really good semifinal and you should have a fantastic final. I would say the only exception would be if it's Ohio State and Penn State. I'm not sure I want to see Ohio State versus Penn State. I'd watch Oregon and Penn State because Penn State came on strong at the end of that Big Ten championship game. And I think Oregon knows it, Penn State knows it. If they got a second time to go at it, that'd be a good game. I think so. I think that'd be a good one. Ohio State, Penn State, I don't think Penn State matches up well. And I don't know. I just think that the Nittany Lions would choke against Ohio State. So that's the only matchup I probably don't want to see. Ohio State versus Penn State. Ohio State versus Notre Dame? That would be, what a contrast of styles. You've got a really tough, stout Notre Dame defense against just an army of athletes on offense with the Ohio State Buckeyes. But I just don't think they can get past Texas. Texas has a nice combination of both. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So hopefully they won't expand the playoff any further, at least for now. I think they should give the current format 3 to 4 years just to see. I mean, look, this first year was rough, okay? The first round was a little rough. The Miami Hurricanes didn't take care of business. Had they taken care of business, it would have been Miami versus, SMU in the ACC championship. Miami, I think, would have routed SMU. And Miami would have been the proper ACC representative. And we probably would not have had SMU in the playoff. Maybe we would have had one of those SEC teams like Alabama or Ole Miss that got left out. But hey, we can blame Miami. All right. So, but hopefully though, this format, if they give it a chance, it'll pay some dividends. It'll pay dividends in a couple of years. I think we need to give it a few years before we expand it to 14 or 16 teams. So the 12-team format, it's interesting. It's the first year, so let's give it a shot. Yeah, so speaking of giving it a shot, I figured I would, give the latest installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's What If show a shot. I checked out season 3 of What If, and I loved it. I thought it was really exciting. I had two episodes stood out to me. Episode 4, which focuses on a scenario where Howard the Duck marries Darcy from Thor, and that was pretty cool. They ended up having a little cosmic baby, and that was fun. To me, that was the funniest episode. And then my overall favorite episode was probably the last episode, episode 8. I'll just call that a multi-dimensional battle royal. Just so many cosmic beings and lots of fights and, gods being developed and created. And, oh man, I'm not going to give it away, the details, but there's so many spoilers in just that one episode. So Marvel really set up so many opportunities that they could build on, but let's see what happens. But yeah, I definitely think that Marvel ended 2024 on a great note with What If, which is saying a lot because What If, in terms of its connection to the MCU, it's quite loose, but somehow I came away from the show feeling like, what? I could see how they threaded some of these things together. And it also teases what might be coming, So I like the show. Now, you know what? In terms of what's coming, I would ask this question. What if Marvel wins 2025? And what I mean by that is, what if they win both the small screen and the big screen? Meaning that they own the box office, but they also own the streaming sites, particularly with Disney Plus. They have a lot of content coming out. I'm excited to see. I just saw the trailer for the new Marvel animation Spider-Man, and it looked fresh. It looked dope. I liked it. The voiceovers were okay. They were cool. But we're getting that right away, right in January. It's dropping on January 29th, and it's going to be a 10-episode show. It looks good. Looks good, man. I'm excited. We just finished What If. A month later, we're getting Spider-Man. Yeah, let's go. I'm with that. I'm with it. And once that's done, then we get Daredevil Born Again, live action Disney Plus series. This is a continuation of the hit Netflix show with Charlie Cox, John Bernthal as the Punisher. We're gonna have we're gonna get Wilson Fisk. Yeah, we're getting him back too. I can't wait, man. Yeah, I think Daredevil Born Again, from what we're hearing, is not only will it be a continuation of the Netflix series, but it's supposed to take things to a whole other level in terms of the drama and the violence and just that the underworld dynamics that come with, Hell's Kitchen and all that. So that should be fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I think that to me that's like one of the main entrees that Marvel will be serving out in 2025 is Daredevil Born Again. But we're also getting 6 episodes of Ironheart after that, beginning on June 24th. So that'll be fun. I don't have many expectations for Ironheart, but hey, listen, from my understanding, that Riri Williams she'll be pitted against the Hood. So however they decide to depict the Hood in that series, that'll be fun. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Now, Marvel is putting out a couple of full feature films to end Phase 5. We're getting Captain America Brave New World on February 14th. And then the Thunderbolts on May 2nd. Now, I've seen the trailers for both, and I have to say, I'm feeling a little... I don't know. Look, it's not that... Look, now, some people are hung up on the fact that, Sam Wilson is the Falcon. How can he be Captain America? He didn't take the super soldier serum. He doesn't have any powers. He's black and he's small. He's not very tall. And the suit that he wore in Falcon and Winter Soldier was a little corny. And I don't know. And, his sidekick, the new Falcon, is kind of And now look, Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk. It looks cool. I don't have a lot of expectations, though. Look. Okay. It feels like this is what it feels like. It feels like they brought in some big names to try to give the fans what they want with the Red Hulk and the Leader and the Serpent Society and the new Captain America, but I just have a feeling that it's probably not going to flow very well. Now, I don't know, but I think we're going to get some additional connection to the Eternals movie, which is awesome. I think we may be getting an introduction into Adamantium. That's right. So, which is obviously a connection to the mutants and the X-Men and all that. So, which is awesome. But I don't know. I'm gonna pump the brakes on that one. We'll just wait and see. Yeah. And then the Thunderbolts the trailer looks okay. I don't know. To me, it's all going to boil down to how they handle the Bob character, which is, supposed to be the Marvel's version of Superman, but with a twist, right? He is, from my understanding, that to me, I'm not sure how that works with a group like the Thunderbolts, right? Because we're talking about the Sentry. The Sentry is, from my understanding, one of the most powerful beings in all of Marvel comics, right? And I guess I just I'm not sure how that's going to work. The Sentry is, as they say in comic world, OP. He's overpowered. to levels that are just unreal. But hey, let's see what they do. Unfortunately, Marvel's track record with some of these like OP characters, like Gore the God Butcher and such, haven't been great. So, and look, they've got an interesting cast of characters. They're bringing back Wyatt Russell as USA Agent from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They're going to bring back Olga Kurylenko as Antonia Dreykov, the Taskmaster from the Black Widow movie. They're going to bring back Hannah John Kamen, who played Ava Starr, the Ghost, in the Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then they're going to have Julia Louis-Dreyfus playing Valentina, Allegra de Fontaine, who's been in a few movies lately. That should be interesting. You're going to have David Harbour as the Red Guardian. Of course, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes. And Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, also from Black Widow. It's an interesting cast. What can I say? I don't know. It comes out May 2nd. Let's just see what happens. I don't have a lot of expectations. Sorry, but I just don't. Basically, I'm hyped for July 25th when we're going to get the first movie of Phase 6, which we hope is the third and best phase of the multiverse saga. And that's when we're getting the Fantastic Four First Steps movie. To me, that is basically, that's where I think Marvel is really, everything really hangs in the balance for Marvel. How things go with Daredevil Born Again, but also the Fantastic Four First Steps movie. To me, that's it. Everything else is interesting. It may work out, it may not. Expectations for Captain America Brave New World, Thunderbolts, And, Riri Williams, Ironheart, that should be nice. I think they've got a few shows coming in the fall on Disney+. Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, Wonder Man, that might be entertaining. But it's really going to come down to the Fantastic Four on the big screen and Daredevil on Disney+. That's really what it comes down to for Marvel. Spider-Man show will be fun. It'll be interesting. But I think it's all about 2025. If Marvel's going to win, then they have to really dominate with the Fantastic Four and Daredevil. Especially given that the Fantastic Four will be going up against the DCU in July of 2025. Now, because, the DCU, they've got Superman. They're rebooting their whole studio there. And now, I saw Creature Commandos, which is their first animated show under the DC universe on Max, and it's a funny show. Yeah, it's a good animated show. Very funny. Very good cast. I like Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. Very funny. Very, very good show. Only about 7 or 8 episodes, but it's, and they're not too long. It's very entertaining. But all the chips, all the hype for the DCU in 2025 is on the new Superman movie that's coming out on July 11th. So 2 weeks before the Fantastic Four First Steps drops. And now the trailer for Superman, it looks cool, but it's overhyped, which is standard DC, okay? I know James Gunn is running the show, but it's still DC. The trailer's dope, but let's see what the film is actually like. I'm not going to comment on rumors about screen testing, but let's just say we pump the brakes until maybe, let's say May. Let's pump the brakes until May. We'll know by then if this is going to be a classic or a clunker, okay? I like what both DC and Marvel are trying to do. I think Marvel's probably entering 2025 with a little bit more momentum. But let's see what happens. Maybe DC will surprise. Again, great trailer, but I don't know. You could see signs in the film and in the trailer of, well, I don't know. You know what? Let's see what happens. I think I'm taking that approach to 2025 more broadly. I think for the coming year, first of all, I'm thankful to have the privilege and opportunity to see another year. So I look forward to that. I think I just look forward to pursuing a balanced life. I want to have a balanced life of good health, success, personal, professional, family, ideas. I want to have some fun. I want to enjoy life. It's short. Life is so short. And there are moments when it can feel like a lull, but it's quick, man. It goes like that. It just, the other day I was just thinking, wow, a year ago I was on a family vacation, and now here we are ending 2024. Yeah, it goes quick, man. So I am just looking to have a balanced life of health, success, family, ideas, and fun. And just make the most of it while I have it. I'm hopeful and a little worried for the new year. Yeah, as everyone knows, we're getting new leadership in Washington, D.C. And I think and we know who he is, he'll make a splash. But I think he's going to disappoint a lot of people, especially his voters. Because at the end of the day, all he does is win. He is about winning, period. He is about winning, period. I'll leave it there. So I think folks just have to make do, stay positive, and look for opportunities to seize upon. And that's whether you voted for him or not. Because as I said, I think, he'll make a splash. He'll throw out a couple of biscuits. But he's about winning. And you can interpret it how you want. But I just think that, let's not get too excited. That's all I'm saying. Let's not get too excited. But what I will say, though, is that we should try something new. I hope people consider to try something new. Be reasonable, of course, but adventurous. Try something new. A new year, try something new, whatever it is. Try it out. Try it out for sure. It's a short life, man. It's a short life. If you get an opportunity to do something new and adventurous, give it a shot. Big or small. Don't go crazy. But, step outside the comfort zone a little bit. Try something that you haven't tried before. Go somewhere you haven't gone before. Do something you haven't done. Whatever that is. Big or small. Give it a shot, man. Hey, we're only getting older, right? We're only getting older. Hey, everybody's getting older, man. And, whatever you have, great. But you're not going to have it forever. The fact that we're getting older means that at some point we depart, we move on. And we don't take any of this stuff with us. So, yeah. Have at it, man. Go to town. Well, for me, I'm looking forward to continuing to make content in 2025. I've got my eyes on some things happening on the education front. I'm definitely interested to see what happens with the Department of Education, whether or not there are some major changes with the Department of Ed next year, or even serious movements to reduce or eliminate the Department of Education. Oddly enough, it could happen in the wake of the passing of the president who ushered in the Department of Education. That would be President Jimmy Carter, the 39th president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, who passed away today at the age of 100. God bless. And but the Department of Education came into existence under his watch. And it would be, I don't know if it would be ironic or interesting or odd or eerie, but we will just have to see what kinds of developments may take place with the Department of Education in the coming year, and what that means for public education. I'm particularly curious to see what happens with special education, because of so much of special education and the provision of special education services is really tied to a number of federal mandates and expectations. So that'll be interesting. I think I might delve into some of that in the coming year. I'm also going to revisit where the country is with teacher shortages at the K through 12 level. I think that continues to be an interesting story. How the country is dealing, how different states are managing with their supply of teachers, the retention of teachers. Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to talk about. I'm also looking forward to seeing how the higher education landscape continues to change, evolve in the coming year. I want to look and see how many colleges and universities restructure or merge or close or what have you. That'll be interesting to see. I also want to see what the fall admission numbers are like for the fall enrollment numbers for 2025, because we've been talking about the enrollment cliff for a while, and I think we are now at the point where we should begin to see a significant fall off with enrollment for first year students. I don't think we're going to see a complete fall off of enrollments because of the trends among people who will go to college for specific niches or for trainings and extended study, what have you. But in terms of the number of students that enroll immediately after graduating from high school, that would be interesting to look at. So that'll be something to look at, to check out in the fall. But also in 2025, I didn't really spend much time on this during the year, but I think in 2025, I want to look at some trends with international education, whether it be international students, the movement of international students, where they're coming from now, relative to previous years, also where U.S. students are going for study abroad, if they're even going abroad. And then, we can assume that they are, but the question is, have the rates of students studying abroad changed at all, or are they pretty much the same? Have the destinations changed, or is it status quo? And then I might dip my toe in a few more cultural topics. Yeah, I sometimes take a peek at what's going on in the YouTube world, and lots of interesting dialogue. Okay, so the dialogue is interesting, but also, so the topics are interesting, the dialogue is interesting, but just I'm trying to wrap my head around where the kind of logic that's driving the conversations that people are having online. And look, at the end of the day, I might just be out of touch. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm almost 50 years old, so hey, I'll admit it. There's just some things I just don't get. I just don't. But I think I'm gonna dip my toe into that in 2025, and I'll probably do some book reviews and some show and film reviews. Yeah, we'll see. Well, we're gonna keep meandering, man. Gonna keep meandering into the new year. So, hey, Happy New Year to you and yours. Have a great, safe New Year's Eve, a wonderful New Year's Day, and let's make 2025 a great one. All right? Hey, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to my podcast. For those that listen on your favorite station or podcast channel, for those that listen to my channel, my videos on YouTube, I just want to say thank you. And please continue to support my show, my channel. If you ever want to get at me, Dr. Germ G at coolmeanderings.com. All right. Take care. This is the Cool Meanderings podcast with Dr. Germ G.